Good morning, Peter Acey here from Foundation Expo 88 YouTube channel. And in a second, you're going to hear David Hinchliffe talk about a new piece of artwork that's been installed down at Tenerife. And it's a fascinating little story, and it's a fascinating piece of Brisbane history. So, as a thank you to David for all his support in the work being done here by the Foundation Expo 88 YouTube channel, I thought I'd record it and put it up for all those followers of David so they can actually hear what he said on the radio. And David, thank you so much for your help over the years in bringing the Expo 88 artwork back onto the streets of Brisbane.
What's your favourite piece of public art in Brisbane? I know for a lot of people it is the upside down elephant outside of the Gallery of Modern Art, but maybe there's something in your local neighbourhood that you love more. Tell me what it is. 1300 222 612. Do we even have much public art in Brisbane? You tell me if you've seen something that you love. 1300 222 612. Of course, public art can be controversial, and there's a story about a pair of sheep on the banks of the Brisbane River that's come out in the last 24 hours, courtesy of David Hinchliffe. Morning, David.
Good morning, Rebecca.
Global citizen, artist of the world, as I call you. You've left behind your Brisbane City Councillor days.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now.
You remember that?
Yeah, occasionally it sort of comes back.
Well, this is where your two worlds collide, though, right?
That's true. That's true. 25 years as a councillor and 52 years as an artist. That takes me back to the cradle, I know. But no, I was painting and selling paintings at the age of 12. But for 25 years, I was a councillor at Brisbane City. Mm-hmm. And I don't regret a second of it, but not for a second do I want to go back to it.
Yeah, life's much better when you're sitting on a canal in Venice painting. But
it's hard work, Rebecca. Don't create this illusion that it's just an easy, cushy life.
All right, art is hard, art is controversial. Apparently, when it comes to a pair of sheep on the banks of the Brisbane River, can you introduce us to Gloria and Gerard?
Yes, we all know that public art can enliven a city. It can also, as your intro suggested, enliven debate in communities and occasionally divide communities. But one thing that hasn't divided the community of Tenerife and the Newfoundland Peninsula are the statues of Gerard and Gloria, who are two how can I say, personified sheep. They're people in sheep's clothing. Gloria and Gerard were local historians. Gloria, sadly, has passed away, but her partner, Gerard, is very much alive and kicking, and they have written various histories, including a history of Newfarm. And when I commissioned this sculpture 10 years ago, back in April almost 10 years ago, back 2009, 2010, we agreed that Gloria and Gerard would be perfect names for these two sheep, a ewe and a ram, standing up on their hind legs like people, with looking out to the sea with binoculars for the ships. Because we all know the story that Australia rode to prosperity on the sheep's back.
Of course.
We had 100 times the number of sheep than we had citizens of Australia, and we sold our sheep all across the world, and one of the key places of departure for all those bales of wool was Tenerife. And all those beautiful wool stores down there that fortunately have been saved and renovated, and now we've got lots of uber cool people living there, those wool stores were where the wool was packed and sent off. So the sheep mark that important part of our history.
And you say they're a sculpture. They're silver. What are they made out of?
It's stainless steel, and I know everyone says they're sculpture, but when you see them, they're like marvellous pieces of jewellery. The sculptor, Mark Andrews, who is a local South East Queensland sculptor, has done a simply incredible job. He has pieced together, I don't know how many hundreds of pieces of stainless steel. They're riveted and not riveted, but they're soldered together to create this sculpture. I actually drew the sculpture, did a drawing of the sculpture, and then put it out for tender 10 years ago, because I wanted to be very specific about what I would get in terms of sculpture.
Right, so you're the one, I didn't realise that, David Hinchliffe. So you've got these sheep standing up, as you say, on their hind legs as if they're people. Gloria has a handbag over her arm and a lovely sun hat on as well.
Oh yes, they both got the slip, slop, slap. They've both got hats on.
Right, and Gerard has binoculars. Now I feel like you talked about these being unveiled. Was Gloria there and Gerard was not?
Gloria has been standing there looking very sad and lonely for about 6 or 7 years. Right. And the reason behind that is when I commissioned the sculpture, I had a certain amount of money in my ward budget for open space development. It's money that developers, when they develop, are required to put money into, or were required back then to put money into a fund which was to be used for the development of open space.
Right, so you as the local councillor had access to that cash.
Exactly. We have to go through a process, of course, and I went through the process and said, this is what we need. I'd already upgraded New Farm Park, the swings and all those wonderful things, and I thought this was a perfect way of celebrating the fact that Tenerife had got its name back. It previously was, it had been Tenerife way off in the distant past, but it had been changed to Newstead and had lost its status as a suburb. So we changed the status. That was a long process, and to celebrate, we had the Tenerife Festival, which happened the 10th anniversary of the Tenerife Festival this past weekend, and we were going to have this sculpture unveiled. Well, 10 years later, we finally got the second piece of the sculpture puzzle, which was Gerard. Now Gloria and Gerard are united in art.
Why did it take 10 years for her partner to appear?
Well, one word: politics. I was criticised for having spent money for open space on sculpture. And so the second sculpture was cancelled, and the council refused. I was in opposition in those days, and on my way almost out of council, and they just suspended the project.
You can't do that halfway through a piece of public art. Look, you got one sheep, Gloria, waiting for her mate Gerard to turn up. Literally, she stood there for 7 years.
Yeah, looking very, very lonely. Occasionally people would say, I walked past Gloria the other day and she looked like she was crying. It was one of those sort of Madonna moments. So the local community decided this isn't good enough. We love Gloria. We want Gloria to have a partner for the rest of her existence. So they basically raised money, enough money, to pay Mark Andrews to complete the sculpture. And now it's finally unveiled. And every great piece of artwork has an interesting story. So I guess that's the interesting backstory to Gloria and Gerard.
On the banks of the Brisbane River at Tenerife, looking out for a Chinese warship or the USS Ronald Reagan. Plenty to look at. David Hinchliffe, who started this 10 years ago, and finally Gloria has Gerard, the sheep, sculptures of sorts, stainless steel.
They're sentinels. They're stainless steel
what's the right
sentinels.
Word? Oh, sentinel. Okay.
They're sentinels. They're looking out for Brisbane.
Is Gerard, given that he's 7 years younger than Gloria, is he a lot shinier?
We're talking about Gerard the sheep and not Gerard the person.
Yes.
Gerard the person is a very shiny person, and he may well be listening, and thank you, Gerard, for all that you've done for the local community. But Gerard the sculpture is definitely shinier. And I detect a smile on his face and Gloria's, because they're going to be there for an eternity now.
So where exactly are they, if people want to take a stroll along the river to see them?
Okay, if you go to the Wool Stores precinct, Vernon Terrace, there are a number of little laneways down through off Vernon Terrace to the boardwalk of the river, and you'll see them outside what used to be Eve's restaurant, but Eve's is no longer there.
Is it not?
No, very sad. We don't have too many restaurants right on the river, and there's one that's begging for someone to lease it.
So is it empty at the moment?
It's empty, yeah. You look interested, Rebecca.
I'm not interested. It's just that I don't think we do restaurants and cafes on the river particularly well, given that we are a river city.
Absolutely. Look, it's one of our great assets. It hasn't always been. We've treated it as a sewer and as a drain in the past, but we are a river city. We promoted the river from the days of Sally Ann Atkinson, Jim Sawley, etc. And we encourage people to set up restaurants. One of the nicest little places to go eat, I bring international visitors over, is that restaurant down in Goma, opposite the Elephant, with on its head.
Yes.
It's a perfect location to really showcase the best of Brisbane.
Well, public art, restaurants and river life, don't always come together as much as you think they would in the river city. When was the unveiling of the two sheep, Gloria and Gerard?
It was on Saturday at the Tenerife Festival.
And was Gerard the man there?
Oh, yeah, Gerard the man was very much there. He's a very unassuming, humble individual, very smart, and I just think they're the sort of people we should be making sculptures of, not the premiers and the prime ministers and the great judges, etc., who are well remunerated for all their work.
We tend to make bronze sculptures of footballers and netballers.
Oh yes, we do that. Oh, I don't mind the odd netballer being
showing
sculpted.
your bias now.
But no, we don't honour those people. In fact, I did something very similar in New Farm. There was a local character, I won't mention his name, he was a character. Some people would say he was a bit of a pain at times.
Right.
And when he passed away, we had a milk crate cast in bronze, and we established it down at New Farm, at Merthyr Village in New Farm, in honour of him, because he was always on his soapbox. So that was to remember this particular individual.
I love things like that. We should have more things like that in this city. If you go to Stones Corner, there's the Labrador there. Yep. Who used to trot down, apparently, into the village and, get a loaf of bread for his owner.
Yeah, these are these quirky little things, are the things that make cities work. Some people say, what's going to make Brisbane the standout world city? Well, often it's not one big thing, it's lots of little things. And I think Brisbane has lots of little attractions. We don't need to have, the Sydney Opera House or some of the Eiffel Tower. Too often politicians are looking for that big thing that's going to have their name on it. In fact, it's lots of little things that we can do to make our neighbourhoods and our communities that much more interesting.
Well, apparently there's going to be lots of tiny little pink doors around the place pointing towards the Brisbane Festival, so look out for those around the city. Amanda says, Gloria looks fantastic, just checked, I will definitely visit to see Gerard. Yes, see, it's a reason to go and say g'day to Gloria and Gerard. Jason at Barden says, I like the mural dedicated to the saints on the sidewalk on Upper Roma Street, around the corner from the place on Petrie Terrace. It's a fantastic acknowledgement of a groundbreaking Brisbane band. Should just mention, this morning, the Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Adrian Schrinner, is hanging out with the founder of Netflix, Mark Randolph. He's the keynote speaker at the Asia Pacific Cities Summit. So this is the kind of thing that tends to make the news, those sort of big collaborations, international guests, but sometimes it's just a milk crate at Merthyr Village.
Yeah, the little things work.
David Hinchliffe, where are you heading off to next?
I'm going down to Sydney. I've got a Sydney solo show, at the end of the month, and at the beginning of August I come back to Brisbane because I've got a solo show at Red Hill Gallery on the opening 9th of August. Then I go over to Venice I'm conducting some workshops over there. And it's all, Rebecca, hard work.
I do not believe you. Thank you, David Hinchliffe.
Thank you.
G'day, my name is Dr. Celebrity Colin Patterson. I've got a little song for you. Called G'day. That's G apostrophe D-A-Y. It's easy.